Welcome back, everybody. Boitumelo Motau is the recipient award winner for the Blessing Ngobeni Art Prize, which is aimed at assisting young and emerging visual artists to launch their careers. Boitumelo now has her first solo project installed at the NWU Botanical Gardens Gallery under the title Inserted Bodies. This body of work traces and draws from the city's migrant workers' history and the ways and forms that this history is carried and continued by the current bodies that live and work in the city. Boitumelo Motau joins us now on Zoom to talk more about this project. Boitumelo, very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, let's start with you giving us a bit of background into who Boitumelo Motau is and how Boitumelo Motau found herself in the art space.
Well, I don't know. I studied fine art at Wits University and I graduated in 2018. And yeah, since then I've been pushing my own professional practice. And yeah, I entered the Blessing Ngobeni Art Prize, and I was fortunate enough to be a recipient for this year, which resulted in this body of work, the solo show, Inserted Bodies, now showing at West University.
Right. Now tell us more about receiving the Blessing Ngobeni Art Prize. I believe it provided you with the 12-week studio residency at the Alice House in Johannesburg, yeah?
Yes, it was a 12-week residency. I received mentorship and guidance throughout the whole process. And it was really an intense process, an intense program, and I had to, present my idea before getting it, and like really working throughout and really workshopping to have a complete body of work. And a lot has changed in that 3 months, which is a short space of time, but it also a lot happened in that short space of time.
Okay. Let's now talk about Inserted Bodies, as you've just mentioned. Tell us more about what inspired this body of work.
It was really a question of trying to find who am I, or how did I get to be where I am. The story of Johannesburg is something which I connect really deeply and closely to. Considering myself as a third generational migrant worker. So I was interested in tracing that history of migrant work, which means that I had to look back into the past and access archives and really finding a way of working with my history. And Inserted Bodies was a way of personalizing a more collective history. So yeah, I was working with the archive at the Workers' Museum, and trying to re-render like this narrative, or like try to find myself or insert myself in this broader conversation of movement and the worker in Johannesburg. The work is mixed media collages and paints, it was really a conversation that I'm trying to have and really continue with my history, which I feel some parts are going to be forgotten, and that is why going back into the archive really to reactivate certain parts of history and like ways of remembering and continuance.
I mean, I've been going through some of the incredible artworks that we're showing through the slides on the screens, and really, really beautiful stuff. Just take us through some of the pieces that have been installed for this exhibition and what they represent. Go on.
So
carry on.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Each of the images is really a reaction to some pictures that I found in the archive, and some are like direct. They're taking them directly from other images and really putting things together. But like they're really paying homage to people that were there before me, people that have paved the way, the bodies that have worked to create the city of Johannesburg. So it was the whole body of work is carried by these two characters called Mutamai and Umakoduga. And so in each of the works on canvases and paper, there's like recurring characters of Umutamai and Umakoduga to kind of speak about this idea of like the person moving through and the journey of the migrant worker. It's also imagining the city as a living body, as a living organism, and trying to humanize certain elements of it. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work. I think in the show there's about 14 pieces.
Oh.
And and each piece has its own history, its own backstory. But yeah, it's together it kind of makes a whole, like a letter to my history.
14 pieces, that really is incredible. And I see that you've been working with ideas of insertion and collage as a way of, sort of engaging and responding to dominant and collectively held historical narratives. Tell us more about this.
I was using collage as a way to find a way to break apart like broader narratives, or like finding a way to break and like how do I say, or rather inserting myself into histories that are already there. So collage was a way of extracting things and putting things back together, which is a process I've been going through, of like really breaking things apart and building them up again, because I'm not willing to just accept history the way it is, and I feel as if I need to, as a way to speak back to it or really converse to it, is kind of create or recreate my own history. So I really look at my work as its own historical document, and it's about inserting myself in this history which I find myself in, and really looking for other ways of other stories and other narratives to put in, instead of just looking at history from just one point of view, which is always presented to us. And it's about really breaking things apart and like reinserting myself. And
Boitumelo, this being your first solo exhibition, do you want to share with us how the experience has been? And in the same breath, I know that the exhibition opened this past week, and you had the walkabout on the same day of the opening. Tell us more about this and how art patrons responded to your work.
The response was really interesting. Everybody came with their own interpretation, which was good for really growing the work. And I had a lot of help from NWU and the Blessing Ngobeni Art Prize team, who really helped to put everything together. And it's been quite a journey. From the studio and seeing the work in the gallery space was like, it really changes everything and says something else. And now that the show is out there, it's no more just like my thing. It belongs to the world. And and I really encourage everyone to like kind of have their own input and create their own stories, because it's dealing with a broader history, a collective history, and so I believe everyone can find themselves in this story which I've constructed.
All right, Boitumelo, great chatting to you, man. All the best. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Joining us via Zoom there is artist Boitumelo Motau, and we've been speaking to him about the current debut solo exhibition at the NWU Gallery in the Northwest.